Days covering the Phillies, and your thoughts on the front office going forward now.
Yeah, you're right. It's been quite a busy stretch here for the Phillies, and starting with Ryan Sandberg news, and that was quite surprising. A lot of people thought that if there was a change going to be made, it would be that Sandberg would be fired, but he really did surprise a lot of people in the organization by stepping down at the time that he did do that, sensing what was going to happen with all the changes coming in the front office, and then the Andy McPhail addition, adding him to be the new president in waiting because he's going to take over at the end of the season. But he's here for the next 3 months, just learning the organization and hanging out and trying to get as much knowledge and information as he can. That's something that had been rumored for 2-3 weeks, so we knew it was going to happen, but we just weren't sure at what point it happened, and they made it during this homestand. And what you alluded to with John Middleton, the owner, being visible, being at a news conference, suggests that maybe there is a changing of the guard in this organization, and that their ownership group isn't going to be a silent type, a quiet, faceless group of people, and that he's going to step up and be held accountable and try and make decisions where they put a face to all the decisions that they're making. And it's not going to be a situation where you have an owner for any news conferences out there. It's going to have to be a high-level front office type situation. So I would imagine when they make a change with the general manager, which we all anticipate they will at some point, that probably won't even be out there. This is just something that's rare, but at least he was there for that, for a very huge moment in the franchise's history.
Yeah, I think everyone is pretty much assuming that Ruben Amaro will be gone after the season. Is there any possible way that they give him an extension and he comes back for 1 year under Andy McPhail?
I really can't imagine that scenario. This is they recognize that the fan base is, and I'm here tonight on what is fireworks night at Citizens Bank Park. And usually on fireworks night, even in bad seasons, you would get a sellout or you would get a lot of fans. This is a fireworks night where they had to give away tickets. I believe it was buy two, get two free or something like that. And more people will probably show up in the 6th, 7th inning. So this fan base is demanding that Ruben Amaro be relieved of his duties and immediately. So I just don't see any scenario in which, unless they go 81-0 in the second half of the season, which is impossible, that he would come back. And heading into the July 31st trade deadline, it's a crucial time for the organization. Trading Cole Hamels, trading Jonathan Papelbon, they're two people that you would hope the team would be able to get some prospects for that could be a big part of their future going forward. So you're leaving this in the hands of someone who may most likely not be with the organization going forward. Yeah,
you mentioned the Cole Hamels and the other players. Are you hearing any rumors? I know this time last year we were all speculating about different players going and what kind of moves, and nothing happened before the trade deadline, the non-waiver trade deadline last year. Do you think this year, I know Pete Mackanin said it's probable players get moved, but are you hearing anything? And which players do you think are most likely to move at this point? Well,
Hamels, Papelbon are the first two because they're the most valuable assets that you have on this team. Cole Hamels obviously being an ace, someone who could step into a rotation, outfield rotation, and be the missing piece for a team to get them deep into the playoffs or make a World Series run. I'm starting to think that there is a possibility that he may not be traded, that they may keep him through this trade deadline and see what they could do for him in the offseason. I don't think that would be wise. I think that you have to move this guy before he develops any kind of whatever it is. We've seen the Phillies hold on to Cliff Lee too long. Roy Halladay's career was cut short. So pitchers are very fragile. And to hold on to a pitcher longer than you have to, you're always risking injury. And if you do that, you're not going to be able to get anything back for him. So they're going to have to try and move him and get the most they can for him. I believe that they were asking for a lot. They were asking for a team's top 2 prospects at one point, and they're going to have to reduce that because there's a lot of different there's a lot of pitchers that are going to be made available at the trade deadline. And Cole Hamels, though an attractive addition for a team, teams aren't going to give up their top 2 prospects for someone. It just doesn't happen anymore in baseball like that. So they're going to have to figure out what's the most return that they can get for him. Other guys like Ben Revere are probably available. You can't go forward with Ben Revere and Odubel Herrera in your outfield. They're the same player. They're the same guy. So you pick one and you move forward with one of those guys. But other than that, maybe you get a team that wants Jeff Francoeur because he's having a good season. He could be a welcome addition to a clubhouse, a right-handed bat off the bench. There's really not much else they can move. Ryan Howard's, unless you eat 25 to 30 million of his contract, you're not going to be able to trade him. And Chase Utley and Carlos Ruiz are just having terrible seasons, and Chase is hurt.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the National League East overall? I thought the Nationals were going to run away with everything, and if any team was going to stay with them, it would be the Marlins. And, of course, both of those teams have had some major injury issues.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to the Nationals and the Mets. And I think the reason that the Nationals haven't run away with this division are all the injuries that they've had. And you look around the league and you see teams that are going to be making trades and adding people before the July 31st trade deadline. Well, the Nats don't really have to do anything. They're going to have three guys coming back that are going to be big additions to that team, to that offense. Jason Rose, at some point, you would think he's going to come back. Ryan Zimmerman, I believe, has taken made some progress, and Anthony Rendon. So you plug those three guys back into your lineup, whether it's late July, mid-July, early August. Those are three additions to your lineup that any team would be welcoming, and for them to be 4 games ahead at this point and get those guys back at some point in the next few weeks to a month to 6 weeks, I think that they're going to eventually win a division. And I see the Mets competing in the East, but mainly for a wild card berth. Mm-hmm. And with their pitching, they're going to be in it. They're going to be in every game with that starting pitching. But what they need is offense, and hopefully, in their situation, they're trying to get David Wright back, and he's making some progress, and he might be able to come back at some point soon too.
Rob Maaddi, our special guest from the Associated Press and WIP Radio and WildfireRadio.com. Just switching gears for a couple minutes. I want to get your thoughts on the Eagles because, as you know, it's been a very busy offseason for the Eagles. And I can't believe, I know Eagles fans get optimistic with all the changes going on, but I know I have a lot of questions, and I can't believe the Eagles fans are out there saying, hey, 12 wins is guaranteed, 13 NFC championship games guaranteed. I think Eagles fans are getting a little too optimistic. If everything goes right, maybe, but what are your thoughts on the Eagles, and are you ready to kind of lock in a projected win total at this point?
No, not at all. And if I had to put something out there at this point in the season or in the summer, I would go between 9 and 10, maybe if things go right, 11. Mm-hmm. It's a team that had a lot of turnover. You got a lot of new faces coming in, and it's difficult to build that chemistry and that cohesion together on that offense, and guys learning the system and guys being implemented into the system. And for all the moves that they made, I'm still not convinced that the defense is going to be much better than it was last year. So, although the offense is always going to score points under Chip Kelly, I don't know how far their defense is going to be able to hold them or take them deep into make them a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Although Vegas has them as a 20-1, I believe. So it's not terrible. I believe they're maybe the 7th or 8th. Best odds in the NFL, according to Vegas, for the Super Bowl.
Lastly, we're a month or a little less than a month away from the opening of training camp across the country for NFL training camps. Your thoughts on the NFC? I know that Dallas got some bad news. Rolando McClain's out suspended for 4 games. I think the Redskins are making moves in a positive direction, although they probably won't be players this year. But what are some of the storylines as we approach training camp in just a few weeks?
You know, for the Redskins, a lot of people have been down on RG3 and since the rookie year and labeling that trade that the Redskins made a bust. But when you look back at RG3, this is a guy who had a phenomenal, outstanding rookie season, and he's been curtailed by injuries over the past 3 years. It's been injuries that have held this guy back. So I think if he can fit into Jay Gruden's offense a little bit better, he's gonna step up and have a better year. I give him a lot more credit than people do. A lot of people do for the what he's been able to do and accomplish. So I'd like to see how he comes along now in his 4th season in the NFL and see where he is in the 2nd year with Jay Gruden and see where they are. The Giants are always a team that they can bounce back and surprise you. I don't know that they have enough to be a Super Bowl contender. Mm-hmm. But I think the Giants can surprise some people and be a team that hovers around the 7 to 8, 9 win mark in the NFC in a division where I don't see a clear-cut 11, 12 win team right now. Yeah. They would be in it. You alluded to the Cowboys and losing McClain, and Their big addition, Greg Hardy, is probably going to be suspended we still don't have a decision on it, but he's out at least 10 games. Yeah, they lose DeMarco Murray. That's a lot to lose, and although they get McFadden to step in there, I just have never been completely sold on Tony Romo and the Cowboys being a team that can win a Super Bowl or go to 12, 13 type of win. So I think the division is going to be a two-team race, Cowboys and the Eagles. I think the Eagles are favorites right now. Giants, I wouldn't count them out. I expect the Redskins to be improved and be able to – they beat the Eagles once last year, and they'll give all those teams in the East a run every time they play them.